BTech Computer Science, that's it. But here they have BTech Computer Science with specialization or minors and majors in similar to that masters as well. So there are various program selections, which obviously requires research. So once that is also sorted, then you have to do the IELTS training or English level language test or GRE or GMAT, depending on what are the requirements for the programs. So once that is done, we have to prepare the paperwork. So paperwork can be the transcripts from your university, IP university, right? Then letter of recommendations or statement of purpose, and there can be other paperwork as well. But these are the common ones which are required for more of the, more or less, all of the higher education. But it can be very specific to some um, courses as well. So that is where specific admission requirements come into play. So these can be like, for example, a university or a professor asks for your portfolios or something like a thesis. If you want to go for a master's with thesis, then what kind of research you have done, research papers, stuff like that, that comes under specific admission requirements. Then comes the proof of funds. So because that is something very important, and universities as well as even for visa application, you might have to show proof of funds as well as for fees purposes as well. So that is also very important. Then comes in submission of your application. So once you have everything sorted out, you have selected everything, you have done all your paperwork, then comes the time to submit your application. Then wait to be admitted. So this is where you get your offer letter, or if they ask for some other supporting documentations and stuff. And once that is done, you have to pay the fees and apply for study visa. So these are generic or high level action plans. There can be more steps associated with it. But I'll take a pause, and if Ishmeet, you have anything else to add, or if people have any questions, they can type in so that we can check and give the answers to them if we can.
Yeah, I think one of the most important points here is program selection, because that's actually going to define what sort of program you're going to, what kind of courses you'll be working on, and also, your future probably job prospects. So it's very
Right.
important that you find the right program. And so one confusing thing which actually happened to me is, so I was looking for computer engineering and it always said ECE. So I was
Hmm.
confused because in India, I was an ECE graduate and it was electronics and communications. Uh, so here in Canada, it was more like electrical and computer engineering. It was combined into one.
Yeah.
So computer engineering program, and there's a separate computer science program. There's not a lot of difference between these two, since there's also one more thing to note. Any program that you choose, you kind of have liberty to choose which courses or subjects are you gonna
Yeah.
work on while you are in university or college. So I think that's one of the key points to keep in mind, because sometimes you'll be biased towards taking computer science versus computer engineering, but at the end of the day, it's just the name of the degree that's going to matter, because you can choose your own courses. So
Right.
you'll be able to get the same courses for both these programs irrespective.
Exactly.
We have not a question, well, but a request, like if you can explain number 2, 3, and 4 in detail.
So number two is something which Ishvi just touched into. Like I have another slide on course selection and how to choose the course. But number three is something which is like you might have seen everywhere: IELTS, TOEFL, PT, CELPIP. These are mostly your English language accreditations required, and this is mostly for US, Canada, and Australia, which is mostly like English speaking countries. But if you are going to France, Germany, obviously they might have their own versions of tests. If not, then they might require you to have aptitude or like know the language where you are going, right? And that's the reason, like Germany, for example, I've heard that the education is very little for even for international students, but their requirement is that you should be knowing German. So that is something where the language skills come into play. So that can be English or any other language. GRE is specific to, let's say, if you want to go to US and even UK and Canada for master's programs. And I think Ishmeet would be a better person to talk about GRE. And GMAT is something which is required for MBA overseas. So Ishmeet, do you want to talk about GRE?
Sure. Yeah. So GRE is basically an exam which focuses on your quant skills and your vocab skills mostly. Uh, it's it's primarily designed for engineering programs or science programs in US and Canada and UK. US is heavily focused on GRE. So if you want to go to US, you definitely want to score good in GRE. For Canada, for most universities, it's optional. Like it's
Yeah.
not mandatory for most universities, but some of the universities ask upfront that they need GRE, but some universities would actually say upfront that they do not need GRE, so don't send them GRE scores.
Right.
GMAT is again very specific to management programs like MBA or Management of International Business and so on. So these two exams are mostly focused on these two areas. GMAT is very heavily used in Canada as well,
Yeah.
after US. So getting a good score in GMAT is really important if you're looking for management courses. So I think that sums up these two exams. But I think it's more of practice that you can do every day to improve your skills.
Right. And I just wanted to call out that not all the universities require GMAT for management courses if people are interested into. So always do your research, and that is where program selection comes into play. So there are various universities and courses which do not require either of GRE and GMAT. So even if you have done IELTS, and that can be for even US and Canada, and as a matter of fact, any country. So that is where research comes into play, and the program selection is something where you should be focusing most of your time before applying. Okay, perfect. If we don't have any more questions, let's move to the next
We,
slide. So,
we actually we
okay,
do have few questions in the chat.
okay,
Um, so there's a question from Tanishq. Um, Apart from IELTS, what other things should be focused on for improving our profile for top universities in Canada?
okay.
Um, I think for universities, I feel that the universities mostly focus on your resume. So your
Statement of purpose,
GPA,
even
yeah,
statement of purpose.
SOP,
Yeah,
right. So SOP is important, and so SOP is basically your background. So you would only write things in SOP that you have done and achieved.
yeah.
Um, So it's basically really important to have a good GPA, to be working on good projects, so that you can build your resume. If you have some work experience, that would also be great. So I think for Canada, for engineering or science programs, your admissions are mostly focused on your background. So it includes your work experience. It also includes your projects that you have done, and primarily your GPA. Your GPA should be really good if you want to go to like top universities in Canada.
Perfect.
The next question is, what's the difference between Masters of Science and Masters of Engineering? I was actually going to type this in chat, but while we're picking it up, the Masters of Science and Engineering is the main difference is the expectation from the thesis point of view. So whenever you do a science program, you'll probably be expected to write a thesis or a research paper. While you're in engineering program, you'll be more focused towards practical knowledge. Like you'll
Yeah,
be expected to do either a project or a co-op. Co-op is an internship in Canada. So this is the primary difference. However, with the increasing intake of students, this difference is minimizing in each of the universities. So
exactly.
it's possible to do MS without writing a thesis, but that is practically same as doing MH. So if you find a difference, if you find two programs with these different names, and then it says you do not have to write a thesis in Masters of Science, it's practically the same thing.
Yeah,
So there's not
even there are some courses which says applied sciences, so that is equivalent to engineering as well.
right. We have a hand raised from someone. It's a number, so I can't really pick up the name. If you want to ask a question, please go ahead. All right, never mind.
I want to pursue master in business analytics from Canada, but most of the universities offer only 1 year business analytics course. So this will reduce the duration of work permit. So what should I do for that?
So if you do a master's program, right? So depending on which province you are in, master's students are given an opportunity to apply for PNP, which is their province nominee program, even without applying for work permit. So if you have just studied there and done master's, not just postgraduate diploma, but master's, specifically a degree. So that makes you eligible to apply for PNP. And I've seen many people like who have done like even I'm not sure whether ISHMEET did that, but one of my colleagues, they had 16 months program and they converted it into 12 months program, like 1 year, by taking more courses in these semesters. So they also actually did complete their masters in 1 year and they got 3 years of work permit. So that is also possible some in some scenarios. So and if like specifically for Canada, I just want to tell that even if you take 1 year course, they have many programs. If from PR point of view, you're saying you will be getting PR. So anyone who comes to Canada, even if they come on work permit directly, they will also become PR eventually. So you should not be worrying about the from PR perspective.
Gursimran, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a new program where you don't need any work experience to apply for PR
Right.
after
So yeah,
studies.
that is like a temporary pathway because
I
of
see.
coronavirus and everything. Because they like Canada government wants 1.2 million new immigrants within four to 3 years. So 2021 they wanted 4 lakh people, but because of COVID, not everyone could apply from overseas. So whoever
I
did
see.
study from Canada, even if they had not got their transcripts and everything, they did not even get their work permit. And even if they came after their 12th and did just diploma, even they got their PR. And I think the count was for 40,000 people, and it got filled within like 6 hours or so once it was opened. So Canada government did say that they will continue to increase such programs because of the requirements the government has set up, that they want 4 million new immigrants every year. Sorry,
Cool.
400,000, not 4 million, 400,000. So, but that is 4 lakh. Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
let's move to
We do
other.
have a few more questions, but I think let's move ahead and we'll
Yeah,
finally
so
cover
let's
them.
complete this one, and we have a Q&A after this presentation as well, right? So we can pick up those if there are any questions specific to the action plan and requirements. Okay, so how to choose the course? So we briefly touched upon the program selection where ISHMEET also gave his ideas. And these are what my perspective would be. And this is very similar to, again, what ISHMEET said. So first of all, you'll have to choose the country and specifically the location within the country where you want to live in. So for example, in Canada, if you want, if you're choosing Canada, which province or which city or which location to move into, and that can be dependent on various factors. For example, if you have relatives, if you have friends and family, stuff like that, or even if you just want to live in a place where it doesn't snow that much. So many scenarios come into play. So first of all, you'll have to choose the country and location. Then comes the university and college. So universities provide master's programs, and colleges provide postgraduate degrees or postgraduate diplomas and certificates. So they can also range from 1 year and 2 years, similar to universities. So that is also something which you'll have to identify. And there can be many like differences between universities and colleges. So that is something, again, research is very important. And I can just tell you that universities are a little harder to crack because of their requirements. For example, we were talking about statement of purpose, right? So that is something which colleges do not require. But that is just one thing. And from fee perspective, many colleges and universities are on the same level, like the fee structure is more or less the same. So again, there are even many universities which are cheaper than colleges, and many colleges which are way cheaper than universities. So it also depends on which location, again, you are choosing from. So research comes into play, and then comes the programs. So because there can be very specific programs to universities and colleges, which you might not find in other university or program or locations. So that is also something which you will have to consider. And again, job perspective, as Ishmeet had also mentioned, because what you can do is best is to just type in the job title which you want to be in, let's say in 2-3 years, and see how many jobs are there. So if the jobs are plentiful, that means that you have a good perspective. And but if there are only few limited jobs, so that is something which will be a red flag. So that is how you can choose your courses. And again, I know many people will have questions related to it. Does anyone have any questions for this, or can we move forward?
I think there's basically a few questions around which university or provinces to choose. So there's a question like which university is good to pursue masters in CS or deep learning?
Right. Well, that is very specific question, but
yeah.
you can always go by the ranking of universities, right? Overall world ranking of the universities. I know University of Toronto will top, and University of British Columbia even, and McGill University, but they are very expensive. Just to let you know, University of Toronto is very expensive. So there are many options out there. For example, even Queen's University, where ISHMEET did his master's from, that is also a very good option. Same is the case with like Carleton University in, I think it's in Ottawa.
Waterloo is one of the
exactly. Waterloo is very great. Waterloo is very great. Like it's ranked like third in for innovation and everything. So for deep learning, I would also suggest Waterloo. Yeah.
Yeah, for deep learning, I think you should choose universities that have good research background. So when I say good research background, just look at the contribution towards research by their professors and departments. And those universities would be University of Waterloo, U of T, University of Toronto. York University is good in that sense. Queen's is really good in that sense. U Ottawa is also very good. So these are different kind of universities. UBC is actually one of the really good universities for research purposes. So I think that should define what sort of university you want to choose. There's also a question that can you please name the provinces which offer PNP to master graduates?
Okay,
I don't know
more or
anyone
less
apart from Ontario.
Even Ontario does that. Even Ontario does that. But the thing is, like, because Ontario has the highest population count, the chances of getting PNP is little less because there are so many universities in Ontario itself, right? So more or less, like, But again, from PR point of view, it's not just PNP. There are various express entries and work even for what kind of work you are doing, like the NOC. It depends on the NOC levels and all. So that is very huge discussion in itself, like the PR and PNP perspective of immigration.
I remember I was trying to apply PNP, and the first time I couldn't because it just got finished in about 5 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, so you have to be ready for like and you need to
even the
know when
second
PNP
time,
is over. Yeah.
the second time the site did not even load for me. So these programs come in like 6 months or 8 months duration. Like there's a gap whenever this opens up. Like there's some gap. I don't remember exactly how much. So what happened? Like by the time my third attempt came out, I already had 1 year Canadian experience. So I applied in Express Entry, and one of my friend, she applied for PNP on her second attempt, and she was able to get in. And she got her PR like an year after me. So PNP is very slow, I believe.
Slow. Yeah, they are
You know?
slow. Yes, yes.
Yeah. For Express
And
Entry, I got mine within like 2 months.
yeah, same. So I just wanted to call out like the question which a person had previously, like if 1 year study will give you only 1 year of work permit. So you can always choose another year of study, like depending on your finances and everything. So it doesn't have to be a university. So you can even mix and match between university and colleges.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue. And that way you can be eligible for 3 years of work permit. So many people actually do that. They come here on the basis of 1 year program, and they see if they are eligible for PR. As we mentioned that with the situation nowadays, even the students who have not even completed are getting their PRs somehow. So Canada government, and we are being specific to Canada because we both live in Canada and have gone through the process. But I'm pretty sure that other countries might also have a similar kind of situation, because the Western countries, like here, people, they don't get married and they don't have kids, and that's the reason they want immigrants to come and fill in that tax gap, because somebody has to pay the taxes so that they can retire and get all the benefits and everything. So don't worry about immigration perspectives. There can be various ways how you can apply for PR.
So actually, I did one thing to circumvent that requirement. My program was 1 year. It was 3 terms back to back, 12 months.
Okay.
So what I did was actually take another term at the end.
Right.
So it got increased to 16 months, and then I got a 3 year work permit.
Right. So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like some people expand the course, some people even reduce the course. So in my example, which I was giving, my colleague did the same. She did, or did the opposite. She had 16 years of program and she converted into 12 months, but still got 3 years of work permit. So that is also possible. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I think we are running late, so let's move to the other.
Sure.
Okay, so why Canada? Like, I know many people would be interested in Canada, and we have been talking so much about it. So let's talk about the common reasoning as well. I know that PR is one which we were discussing about, but let's see what are the other reasonings to it. So the first, like, and these are the reasoning which I had in mind while I had in mind when I was choosing Canada as the location. The number one was English, because I knew English, Hindi, and Punjabi, so I didn't want to learn a fourth language like German or French. So European countries were out of the question. So there was UK, US, Australia, and Canada, but I also wanted to have the opportunity to work part-time so that I can at least get my expenses and not rely on parents' money for that. So that is where I identified that Canada does have that you can work 20 hours per week. Then Canada's education is world class. It is consistently ranked, I think, in top 5, if not top 3, for the countries to go to. And then the international students fee in comparison to other countries is also relatively better. So if you talk about US and Australia, they are much higher in fee structures when compared to Canada. And because Canada has universities and colleges, so that gap even widens up because, as I mentioned, some universities and colleges can be way cheaper than the other ones. So that is where research comes into play. And then the jobs perspective in Canada is also great. Like there are many high paying jobs. And also Canada is a very big country and has the proximity to US. So you can always have an opportunity to move to US as well after getting your PR or citizenship here in Canada. And we already talked about pathway to permanent residency and citizenship. So there can be various other factors for choosing Canada, for example, friends and family. So Ishmi, did you have any other reasoning for choosing Canada?
That's the last reason you said. I have family, so my sisters were already here. That being said, I was also pursuing US, uh, but I think there's also a big cultural gap between US and Canada. So that's one of the reasons I chose Canada. So before actually starting my studies, I was able to visit both US and Canada while I was in school and college in India.
Nice.
So what I understood from my own experience is that Canada is more welcoming to immigrants, and it has a better culture as compared to US. So
Right.
these two countries were on my top two list, and obviously I had family here, so even my sisters, they went to US first for their studies, and then they moved to Canada.
Okay.
So it was pretty much in the family that we were able to experience the difference between these two countries.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that I came here. And the last point that you have on the slide, pathways to PR and citizenship, that's also one of the very important
Yeah.
factor while
Yeah.
choosing Canada that I tell
I
everyone.
have many
Yeah.
colleagues like here, like at my work, who were actually living in US and were waiting for their green card, but no luck because they have
Yeah.
their lottery system, right? So
Yeah.
they actually moved to Canada and now are very happy moving to Canada. And another
Right.
thing which I think we didn't talk about was the racism aspect as well. So as you
Yes.
mentioned, that Canada is very welcoming and also it has a lot of diversity. It's not just Indians who come to Canada. I
Yeah.
think any country you name, you'll get somebody from that country over here, be it Africa, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, lots of Chinese people as well. So many
Yeah.
countries actually choose Canada as their destination.
Yeah. It's just called land of immigrants. So
Right,
wherever you go in Canada, you'll find people from every culture, from every
right,
country. So that actually doesn't make it biased towards one particular race or skin color. It's
right,
mostly that everyone is running Canada together. So
right,
that's a big cultural advantage that you get back in Canada. But if that's not something that bothers you, you probably want to look at other countries as well, since US is really high paying.
right.
So for the same job that we do, US pays approximately 25 to 30% more
Mhm.
in Canada. But there are different disadvantages to that too. In Canada, we
Yeah,
have for
healthcare.
education and healthcare free for everyone, but that's not the case in US.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that those are a few key points to keep in mind.
awesome. Yeah, there can be many other reasons. So you can always have the advantages and disadvantages comparison either on YouTube videos or blogs and everything between
Right,
the countries. So that will give you a better understanding. Okay,
right.
any questions from anyone or should we move to next one?
There's one question I would like you to take, Gursimran.
Okay.
So Yuvraj is asking that considering the COVID scenario and restrictions implied very heavily in a lot of provinces, what
Mhm.
is the perfect time to come to Canada for study? Is it this year or next year, 22?
Sure. So this year, I think it is already very late. So September intake,
Yeah,
they had requested to provide all the files and everything before May 15th in order to get the responses in time. So for September intake, it is already very late. And Ontario, as you might know, ISHMEET has provided their reopening plan. So they have started they will start reopening on June 13th and in 3 phases. So by end of July, everything will be back to normal or at least close to back to normal. So September intake is also fine if any people have already applied for it, but January intake is also great. But you have to focus on this thing that not all the courses and programs are available in January intake or even May intake.
Yes.
September intake is the biggest intake specifically for Canada, and it can be similar for US.
Yeah. There are plans to vaccinate everyone by end of
Yes.
September, at least 80% of population. So
Yes, and currently
things are gonna
60%
get
people
back to
are
normal.
already, yeah, 60% people
Yes.
in Canada, like adults, are already vaccinated. And by July and or by
Yeah.
September, I think, yeah, you are right, 80% people would be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that is where they will open up everything because they consider it to be like herd immunity. Okay, perfect. Let's move to the next thing, which is the costs. Now, people would be like, okay, now we are interested. We have made up our mind that we'll be studying abroad, but what are the costs, finances, right? So here I will be giving you the breakdown of what costs are associated semester-wise, living expenses and like additional costs which might occur. But don't worry, I'll also tell you how I was able to manage my finances and give you perspective. So bear with me. So the number one cost associated with is the fees. So on average, like per semester fee can range from $6,000 to $12,000, and this can depend on various factors, whether you are choosing university, whether you are choosing colleges, then also the location. So I know that in Ontario, specifically in Toronto, if you are moving to downtown, because the real estate is so expensive, so that adds to the fees, and colleges and universities have to ask for more. But if you're moving to a remote location, obviously the real estate prices or the rentals and everything would be less. So that will translate to semester fees as well. And it's not that universities are expensive than colleges, but there are various examples where universities are actually cheaper than some of the colleges, but it depends on location. So there are various factors, and but on average, you can expect somewhere around $6,000 to $12,000, and these are Canadian dollars. These are not US dollars. And also for semesters. So I'm taking 4 terms or 4 semesters because that translates mostly to 3 years of work permit, but there are always programs which are like 1 year programs, which is for 2 semesters. So many people also do this. They take 1 year of 1 year of course, which is like 8 months of studies or 2 semesters. They come to Canada with that, and if required, they apply for second course as well. So that can cost between 24,000 to 48,000, and this is in translation to 6,000 and 12,000 multiplied by 4. So that's that. It can also depend on if you are getting any scholarships. Many colleges and universities also provide scholarships, so it can get even reduced further down. So that is the first fee. The second one is the living expenses. Now, it particularly depends on the person, how they want to manage and live. So people can also live in shared spaces. That's not, uh, you should not be doing that in COVID, but pre-COVID or post-COVID, it is something which can be done where people live together in one room, like 2 people share one room, or so that can translate to $700. So living expenses, I'm having costs associated with it, with the rentals, with your Wi-Fi bills, your phone bills, your food, groceries, those. So it can range between 700 to 2000, depending on if you are renting out the apartment for yourself and doing everything by yourself. So that can go up to $2,000. But if you have your friends and family over here where you can stay, so that can go to way, like it can get reduced even further. That being said, there can be additional costs associated when you first land in Canada, or if you move or fly frequently. So the flights from India, then Ubers if you're moving to various locations, if you don't have a car, Airbnb and like rentals and other recreational stuff and electronics, for example, you'll buy a phone over here, or if you want to buy a laptop and everything. So that can also easily incur $2,000 to $4,000 Canadian. So these are some of the costs. It is not specific to all the people, but these two will be specific to everyone. So these are few costs, and there can be many other costs associated with it, but these are the major ones. So any questions related to costs? Or Ishmi, do you want to add anything? Like if I have missed anything?
I think that's good enough. Yeah, I pretty much covered everything. It actually just want to point out that the living expenses or the additional stuff might even continue after your studies. So when
Yeah.
you're aiming for a job, just try to find something that fits your budget.
Exactly.
That's the only thing I can add. But yeah, I think you've covered pretty much.
Okay, perfect. Is there any question or should I move?
Not related to cost, so I think
Okay.
we can move that.
Now, you might be saying that these are this is so much, but is it worth it? So the answer is yes. Like we have been living here and fully paid off all our loans and everything. So I think it is worth it. First of all, the reasoning is part-time jobs. So I touched on it previously as well, but I'll just tell you how much it translates to if you'll be going to do work while you're studying. So Canada in specific has the rule, or they give the opportunity to all the international students who are on study permit to work 20 hours per week. And not everyone gets a high paying job. So there is this what is called minimum wage concept that that a province sets. So every province can have a different minimum wage, but it ranges between $13 to $15. I think $15 is for Alberta, but Ontario has $14 an hour. And some provinces can even have $13 or 12 something, but it depends on the living expenses. So what comes to your pocket remains almost the same. So if we do a little calculation, so 20 hours per week for $14 an hour for 4 weeks, which for that monthly earnings come to 1120. This is pre-tax, and after taxes it comes to around $1,000. And as we saw that you can easily have your living expenses way below $1,000. So you can even save some chunk if you want to from your part-time job, which you can always add to your fees as well. But apart from that, there are various other opportunities to earn more. So one of that would be on-campus job. So this rule is for off-campus, which means you will be working outside of your university or college premises. But there is a concept of on-campus job as well, where you can work within the campus and there is no bar. You can work as a TA, research assistant, or even lab technicians. There can be many opportunities to work on campus, and for that, even the wage is higher. And you don't have the concept of 20 hours per week. You can work as many hours required as requested by the employer. So that can be done on top of the off-campus jobs. So that is a good news if you get. For example, I also worked on campus job. I was working as an event staff over there. So there used to be a company who used to organize all the events for these students. So I used to be part of that, and they used to pay more than the minimum wage. So that was also great. Then there are other bonus earning opportunities. For example, if there is an official break between 2 semesters, the 4 months between one semester and the other semester, so you can actually work full time over there. So you can either find a new job, or you can just ask your employer to increase your hours, and that way you will earn more. And same thing you can also do between study weeks. So or in Canada, they provide study week before the final exams. So that is also where you can work full time. And then Christmas break as well, you can work full time. And then there are stat holidays, which are like the government holidays. So if you work on government holidays, you actually get 1.5 times the pay rate. So let's say if the minimum wage is $14 an hour and you are working on stat holiday. So actually this is a long weekend. So on Monday we have a holiday. So if anybody works on Monday, which is the Victoria Day, so they will be getting $21 an hour instead of $14 an hour for their shift. So that adds up, and you can actually save a lot of money and help reduce your student costs. So that's for part-time job. Then once you come into your co-op, if your program has co-op or paid internships, so that is where you can earn a good chunk to pay off your fees. So there it is kind of a work permit which is associated with studies. So I think it is called SW1. But the wage, obviously it increases because you'll be doing something technical in your field in the co-op. So it can range around $18 to $20 an hour. I've seen these pay rates very common. And monthly earnings, if we talk about, so again, doing the same calculation, it can translate to $2,500 after taxes, so which is a good chunk. And if you don't increase your living expenses, you can actually save a lot of money. And on top of this job, you can also continue doing your part-time job as well, if it is you can manage both of the jobs. So that also helps. And on top of that, as I mentioned previously as well, there are various programs for scholarships, which can depend on your grades, how you are performing. So if you can get scholarships as well, that also helps a lot. Then these are the two options. The third one is full-time job. So once you complete all your programs, you apply for work permit. So provided you get job in your own field, the wage would be around 25 to $50 an hour, depending on your skill sets, your experience, which location are you living or applying for. So the packages can range from $50,000 to $100,000, and I'll give you the breakdown as to the average salaries in coming slides, so you'll know actually what to expect for various jobs specific to IT, and even the average job in general, not just specific to IT. So I'll be highlighting those as well. And the monthly earning potential comes to $3,000 to $6,000 after taxes. So this is where you actually start earning good money, and then it can be utilized to pay off your debt even within an year. So another reasoning, which is not related to money, but life experience. So if you want a better quality of life, obviously you can look into various other countries who are actually providing that. Then there are exposures and perspectives. So if you want more exposure, diversity and culturalism, so that is where you have to move to a different country. And even for personal development. So for example, I was just telling this to Lovepreet the other day that I'm talking in English, but I was not like this. Like when I was in GTBIT, I rarely used to speak in English. But I believe that because I moved to Canada, I've been speaking English or conversing with people so much in English that it seems like a first language to me now. So that is where you personally develop a lot of skills, and it's not just English skills. You develop financial management, because everything you have to figure out on your own, do your own taxes, cook your own meals, take care of the house and everything. So that is where you actually learn a lot of stuff. So these are some of the things which, in my experience, were worth it and really helped me out. So is there any question for this slide? Or Ishmeet, if you want to add anything else from
Yeah.
your side?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for co-ops specifically. If you are let's say uh, you have a really good skill for something that's in need. Uh, you can even get paid like uh, at least 50% more
Yeah,
uh, than what's mentioned in the slide as well. So
right.
I've seen people from my own personal experience, this wage can go as high as $30 an hour, which
Right.
is a comparable full-time package.
Mhm.
So it's very important that you also focus on your technical skills and everything while you are doing all this. Life will be very hectic here, so you wouldn't have a lot of time. But that being said, I think it's pretty much also important that you keep building your skills and keep working on it because you might end up getting more than $25-30.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's another thing that someone also asked in questions that if we can minimize our fees in some way. I just want to highlight a program, not a program specifically, but it's more of a taxation thing
Yeah.
that when you pay tuition fees to any public university, you get tax credits for those tuition fees. So let's say if you're paying $10,000 in 1 year to any university for your education, you'll get tax credits. Not 10,000 tax credit, but some percentage of it.
Some
That's
amount.
calculated by CRA.
Yeah.
CRA is Canadian Revenue Agency, which is similar to Income Tax Department in India. So for those $10,000, let's say you get 4,000 credits or 5,000 credits. I don't know whatever number you get. Uh, when you file your taxes after your job or any year after that, those credits will be used to pay your taxes. So it's an actual cash money that can be used to pay your taxes, but you will not get that in cash. Rather that the amount that you pay extra for the taxes, you will get that back. So
Yeah.
for example, your employer paid $5,000 taxes for you, and you had $4,000 of credit. So you'll get those 4,000 back from the employer's money from CRA. So this is one thing that a lot of people that they don't know,
Mhm.
but you can actually get a huge chunk of your fees back after you graduate and in coming years. There's a cap of how much you can redeem in 1 year,
1 year.
and it does not expire. These credits do not never expire. So you can redeem them in any upcoming years that it's possible.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's really important. And I remember that for my first year tax refund, using these tax credits, I had got somewhere around like 1,800 to $2,000 back. So that was really a good chunk of money.
yeah, there's also a question regarding scholarships. Like, can just talk a little bit more about scholarships?
So it depends on the colleges and universities. Like some colleges and universities even provide scholarship before you even join them. Like if you have done something very exceptional, and that will depend on the statement of purpose, right? For example, you have done some research which is very exceptional, and the professor is willing to sponsor you. So that is where the first type of sponsorship comes into play. Then there are sponsorships specific to how you perform in your colleges or semesters. So per semester scholarships are also available. So you can always research on the university website and college website as to what all services or what all options do they have. And I think not everyone qualifies for it. Obviously, you have to show the intent and also show that you have the skills that you should be given a scholarship. So yeah, I can't point you to a location where all the universities and colleges provide that information, because that is very specific to their websites.
And I think there's also a major point that we should touch. So earlier we were talking about Masters of Science and Masters of Engineering. So as I was saying, in MS, you're expected to write a thesis. So whenever there's a thesis MS program in Canada, you would probably see some sort of funding already attached to it.
Yeah.
So, for example, at Queen's University, MS is practically free and they pay you as well. Now,
Yeah.
why is that? So, what happens is when you apply to MS with thesis, mind me, this has to be with the research program. You cannot do this on course-based program. So at Queen's, what happens is like even before applying for the program on their website, you have to find a supervisor. A supervisor is a professor, and the professor has a funding from one of the companies that they're doing research from. And that funding is applied to your every expense that you do at university. So it's practically free. You don't have to pay any fee. Uh, it's not even reimbursement. You don't just have to pay anything, and you get like 100% scholarship. On top of that, they pay you for research. So you'll probably get some stipend like $800 or $700 a month
For your living
uh,
expenses.
for yeah, just as a just as a salary or something, because you're doing so the funding amount is fixed. It's basically if you minus the fee, the remaining amount you just get as your living expense. So this is a really nice program at Queen's, I know of, but I also know that most universities in Canada offer this program. So at some places it's not 100%, it may be 50%, 75%, but it's a really nice program if you're interested in doing a thesis program. If you're not interested in doing a thesis program, you only have the other options left. And as Gursimran mentioned, there are many scholarship programs within the university that you can find and apply for. There's also something called bursary or financial aid that you can also apply for at your particular university. The amount and the criteria is defined by the university again. The
Yeah.
bursaries are pretty much a lot of people do get bursaries. So it could be anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000, and it's one time. So yeah, it's not a lot of money, but anything saved is anything earned.
And
Yeah.
guys, I had another question for you. Like in the Ivy League schools, we have seen sometimes that a candidate can approach the alum of the college or the university as per showing the required documents and stuff, and they can get a loan through the alum. So, are you guys aware of something like that in the Canadian universities or colleges? Is any kind of scholarship like that?
From the alumni.
Yeah, if a candidate can reach out to alum of the college or the university for some kind of loan or scholarship stuff.
So there are a lot of scholarships in Canadian universities which are uh, run by the alumni groups. So I'm not sure what you're talking about aligns with it. Uh, the scholarships so for example, let me give you an example. So uh, the Queen's School of Business was converted to Smith School of Business, just the name and branding. That's because Mr. Smith was one of the alumni from Queen's and he donated $50 million to the universities, to Queen's University. And the business schools were renamed after his name. So using this $50 million, they also gave a lot of scholarships to many management students. So that's one way how this works. The other ways is there are like different scholarship programs on their university website. Most of them are run after an alumni. So
Yeah.
some of the noted alumni from the university, they will start a program and then they'll start funding based on whatever criteria they have.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it aligns with what you're asking because I'm not aware of that program. But this is how at least I know it works in Canada.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Should we move to other slide, or are there any questions?
Yeah. Are you touching on loan or financial
Yes,
thing?
it will be in the next slide.
Okay, cool. We have a question regarding that, so we'll just wait.
Okay, so let's move to finances. So the now we know that we know what are the associated costs. We know how much is the earning potential. So these finances will be very specific to me, like what I did. So, but it will be very understandable, and like people can uh, put themselves in my shoe and see like what I did to manage my finances over here. So these were the initial costs which were required. So GIC, so this is like a guaranteed income certificate, and I think now it might have increased to $20,000. But at my time it was $10,000. So this basically means that this is your money. You will be putting this into the bank account as a proof of fund, just to show Canada government that you can withstand the costs for initial year. So what happens with GIC is whenever you open it, you'll get $2,000 upfront for your first year expenses, like rentals and everything. Then every month you will start getting the 8,000 divided by 12, so around $667 dollars per month for your living expenses. Now, if you don't get a job, that is where this GIC really helps, because it is like a guaranteed income or guaranteed chunk of money which will be coming to your bank account, which you can utilize to pay off your living expenses. So that is something which is a requirement for some of the colleges and universities, like some programs. I'm not sure whether all of the universities ask for that, but my college actually did, and that's the reason it is on this list. The second point was like first semester fees. So some people pay off first semester, some people pay off first 2 semesters. And obviously, if you are not working, your parents or your loan will have to cover that. But in my situation, first semester fees was paid by parents, and I had taken up a loan for remaining 3 semesters. So it translated to $23,000. So 7,000 something was the fees structure for each semester for my program. So now you'll be like, okay, we know what was the costs associated for you, but what was the repayment structure? So as I mentioned that this GIC, I did not utilize anything for that. I just utilized the $2,000 for the first initial month, and after that I was able to get my job. So I did not have to touch my GIC money. So I was actually saving this back and trying to repay the loan which I had taken utilizing the GIC money every month. The secondly was the monthly savings as I was a student. So as I mentioned that 600 to 700, 800 was my living expenses. And I was easily saving $200 to $300 after all my expenses, living expenses, which included food, grocery, living expenses, my um, uh, bus pass and everything, my Wi-Fi bills, my phone bills. So I was actually saving $200 to $300 from semester 2, and then monthly savings was sorry, this was the monthly savings on work permit when I got the job. So I was actually saving 1,500 or more, because obviously you move up your living expenses a little more once you get a little more cash. So how it translated to the repayments is something along those lines. So I was actually paying 667 for 12 months, so $8,000 I had paid using GIC, which was actually the money which my parents had provided. So that was again sent back to the loan. Monthly, I was saving 3,600 while I was a student, so I paid that as well. And then for within 8 months after I came into work permit, after saving $1,500 an hour, and this is like I already told you how much to expect in the earning potential previously, right? So you could easily save $1,500 if you don't increase your living expenses too much. So I did not get a car or anything, otherwise my expenses would have increased drastically, but my first intention was let me pay off my loans and then see what else I have to get. So I was actually able to save this amount in 8 months and pay off all the loans. So if you add all of these, it translates to 23,200 or 300 something. So that was loan plus interest. So that was actually very helpful. And within 1 year, not even within 1 year, within 8 months after completing my studies, I was able to pay off the loan. And it can vary from person to person again. Some people can even pay off their loan early. Some people can take 1 year or even 2 years, 3 years, depending on how much they want to contribute to the repayment structure. But it is very much possible to come out of the loan within the first year of your work permit. So any questions related to finances? Or ISHMEET, if you like, I know that I'm not sure like whether you took a loan or what was your plan. So did you follow a similar plan, or how was it for you?
I did not take a loan, but what I did differently was my first two terms were paid by my family, um, and for term 3 and 4, basically I started earning during my third term. So in Queens, you have to pay the fee even if you're doing a co-op, which is not the case in other universities. So uh, my third term was a co-op actually, and that's where I started earning. And after that, I paid my third term and fourth term fees by myself.
Mhm.
Um, I managed my expenses as well from that, and also had a job before graduating. So as soon as I left university, I was able to start working at RBC. So that that went ahead. So that
Right.
was my
Perfect, perfect. So yeah, in my case, I did not have a co-op. So if people are thinking, if I don't get a co-op, will I be able to survive? So like I just gave you my finances. I did not have co-op in my program, and all of the loans and everything is paid off. So it
yeah.
is very much
I think
achievable.
there's one more thing. So I think you can still do internship. Uh,
Yes, you can.
Even if you don't have in your program. So you can skip a term at your university. You can still go for internship. It doesn't have to be in the program. You won't get credit for it. So co-op is basically when you get credit for your work at
Yes.
university. So when we do co-op, we get 2 credits for the term. But for internships, you don't get any credit. I think that's the only difference between these
Right.
two. So
Right.
and there's a difference for employer, because for co-ops they get some tax benefits from the government. So that's why co-ops are more prominent, whereas internships are less prominent because employer don't get really any tax benefits.
Mhm.
But they are available. So you can do internships even if it's not in your program. You can skip a term, just go out and work for some company and come back and continue your studies, and you can
Yeah.
follow the structure.
But for that, you might have to check for the work permit requirements and stuff, because
Yes.
study permit allows only 20 hours per week. So that is something, if you are
Yeah,
interested,
but
you
if you are
can.
on break, you can work
Yeah.
full time.
Yes. On break, definitely you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you skip a term, so you're practically on break, and then you can work full time on an internship. It's basically like doing a job.
Right. Perfect. Any other questions?
Uh, I don't like you talked about loan. There's a question: how much loan can you get without collateral? I'm not
Uh,
sure.
that is something you'll have to check with your bank.
Yeah.
Okay. If not, let's move to the next slide. Coming to the average salaries. Now, people would be really interested to know like what is the earning potential. Like I touched upon how much to expect in one of the previous slides, but these average salaries are salaries not just related to IT. These are average salaries combining all the salaries which are in Canada. And these salaries are not just specific to entire Canada, it is specific to all the provinces. So these are all the provinces, as you can see. And in January, by January 2020, what was the average salary? So it can include salaries ranging from minimum wage, like a person working at Tim Hortons or McDonald's, ranging to CEOs of big organizations, and coming to an average as to how much a average Canadian earns. So as you can see, it ranges close to $50,000 to $60,000 depending on which province you live in. And these are all the provinces over here. So as you go up, this area is the coldest one, so North Pole and everything. So obviously, because not many people live over there, um, the uh, the people or the organizations, they pay you even more because the living expenses there are astronomical, all the bills and everything. So that's the reason the
I'm
pay is
surprised.
higher.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised the NWT and Nunavut have such high salaries.
Yeah,
Fish and
that's the reason.
career.
That's the reason I was pointing out that don't think that because the average salary here is high, I'll
Yeah,
move
yeah.
to Nunavut and
You
territory,
don't want to go
because
there.
because you will freeze. It goes like -50 over there, even more than that sometimes. So
Yeah,
that's the reason. Like it's for very uh, people who are fond of
specialized.
snow, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah,
yeah.
so anything above this line is really very cold, so don't even consider there. But if you want to get a good job, and so most of the people, they prefer either Ontario, so this is Ontario, Quebec, where Montreal is, then Vancouver. This is British Columbia, so Vancouver, Victoria region over here. And then this is, I think, Calgary, sorry, Alberta. So Calgary and
Alberta.
Edmonton are the major cities over here. This is, I think, this is, I think, Saskatchewan. So Saskatoon and Regina are the major cities over here. This is Manitoba. So Winnipeg is the major city over here. So the most populated province is Ontario, obviously, and it is known for like the quality living. So because it's not as cold as other provinces, and the job perspectives are also higher. So both Ishmeet and myself, we both live in Ontario. So that's the reason. Like
Yeah.
Toronto is the hub for all IT
But my,
sector.
my job is in British Columbia, so I'm kind
Yeah.
of working remotely.
Yeah, British Columbia is actually very close to
US. Yeah.
like the temperature wise, it is very close to India because it doesn't snow
Oh
as
yeah.
much over there. So if you don't like snow, British Columbia is the way to go. But the second close comes Ontario. So these are the average salaries, and these are not just limited to IT. So there are various other jobs or areas where you get a lot of money. So for example, you might have heard that truck drivers get a lot of money. So that is actually very true, but they do put in a long hours, and it is very risky as well because of the snow and everything. Even real estate agents, they get a lot of money because you might have heard that the real estate market over here is crazy. So real estate agents get a chunk or percentage of the commissions. So depending on how many you can transact, you can earn way more than $100,000 a year using being a real estate agent. So that is something which I don't want to touch into, but I just wanted to highlight that there are various other jobs opportunities as well. Now coming to IT salaries. So people who are watching this are really interested in IT jobs. So I've come up based on Glassdoor, what are the average salaries of, let's say, a software developer or cybersecurity consultant and network engineer. So you can expect something in the ballpark of, let's say, $50,000 to $55,000 in the initial year, like provided you don't have any experience, and like you can always negotiate it up, but this is something which is which I've seen many people get, $55,000 a year for the start. And it can go up to 105, even $150,000, even more, depending on if you are full-time or contract. And it also depends on your skill set and the number of years of experience you have. Also which organization you are working for. If the company is a startup, or if it is a well-established company, or well, it depends on various factors, but this is something which is like an average salary, and it is very comparable throughout Canada. And if we talk about the taxes, so this is pre-tax. On top of it, you'll obviously have to pay the taxes. So can anybody guess how much do you think you'll have to pay taxes if, let's say, a person gets an initial salary of $60,000? So just comment in the chat. Let's see who gets it right. So ISHMEET, let's ask you, like, you are already here, right? So what do you think would be the taxes on $60,000 a year? And this is for, let's say, Ontario. I'm asking for Ontario.
For 60,000, you'll probably pay about between 25 to 30%.
Close enough. What's the response from other students?
We are 40%, 30%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
30, 40, and 10,000. No, that's way too less. 10,000 is nothing.
This concept of federal taxes or state provincial taxes and federal taxes. So each province has their own tax bracket. Some provinces don't even ask for that. For example, Alberta, I know, for food and not for food, like for various items, they don't ask for provincial taxes. They just ask for federal taxes. So it depends on province to province how much taxes you'll have to pay. But let's see, this is what you'll pay, 23.7 if you have the salary of $60,000 a year, and these are the federal deductions and these are the provincial deductions. And on top of that, there is the deductions of CPP and EI. So this is like insurance and provident funds. So even if you, and yeah, this brings to a very important question. So let's say if you lose your job over here, so because you are paying this EI or employment insurance, Canada government will actually pay you some amount to pay off your bills. So even in this COVID situation, many people lost their jobs last year in 2020 because everything was shut down. And even now, like Ontario is still in lockdown. So many jobs were shut down. And because of that, Canada government actually came up with a program called CERB. So it was they were actually providing $2,000 just for their living expenses, and this actually helped a lot of international students as well, because as I told you, their earning potential was $1,000, right? But Canada government was actually paying them $2,000 just for losing their job. So because Canada government takes a lot of taxes, they take it for your own benefit. And this is not just limited to coronavirus or pandemic. Even if you lose your job for some other reasons, and if you go to maternity leave or paternity leave, so that is also where this EI kicks in, and some employees even match the EI amount with the government, so that you actually get close to what you might be getting as your salary. So that is also very great initiative by Canada government. So if they are taking more taxes, it doesn't mean that they're ripping you off. They actually provide you a lot of benefits as well. And these taxes, again, as ISHMEET mentioned, also helps you with free healthcare as well as free education for your kids. ISHMEET, do you have anything else to add?
I wish those taxes were less. That's all.
Yeah, actually, this is
And if you just go to 75,000, that goes exponentially higher. That's crazy. A lot of tax.
I have that trivia question in the next slide, so wait for it. Yeah, but I wanted to highlight that this is for full-time job, right? If you are getting all the benefits and everything, which includes your dental, this and that. But if you are contracting, so there is a concept of contracting here as well. So you actually get this entire 60,000 amount, and then you deduct your money, like after getting all your deductibles, for
Expenses and
example.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can pay taxes on top of the deducted amount. So many people actually do that as well to reduce their taxes. But that is something which is
But I think yeah,
for
it's a stretch
initial.
because yeah, you don't want to go into contract. You shouldn't actually, because
Mhm.
1 year full-time work experience is a requirement for
Right.
PR. So
So that
just
is
go into
after you get your
contracting after
PR,
the
after you get your
yeah.
PR, after actually you get your at least 4 to 5 years of experience once you know, because contractual jobs are usually like 6 months to 1 year, and you'll have to re-find the job. So they actually pay you more, but because there is this time span that you'll have to find another job, so you can actually stay at home for 2-3 months until you get a new job. So many people I've seen do that as well, but that is a little risky, as Ishmeet mentioned. Even if you want to buy a house or real estate, so that is also where they ask for your full-time salary, and they usually do not entertain a lot, or they don't give as much amount to contractors. So that is also to keep in mind. That's great. Any questions related to IT salaries?
Not yet.
Okay, so this is for software developers, cybersecurity consultants, network engineers, because every person can have their own taste. Now let's move to other set of IT salaries, which are like more data centric, or business systems analyst centric, or data administrator centric. So as you can see, the range is very similar, 70 to $80,000, or data scientists like over here is a little exception for the average salaries. So you can expect somewhere around these ballparks for any IT related jobs. Now, Ishmeet, you also pointed out for $75,000. So now I have a question for everyone. Like, you saw how much they charge for $60,000. Let's see how much you think $75,000 salary person actually gets charged. So comment in
Yeah.
the section, comment down and let us know. So Ishmeet, let's ask you, what do you think?
I think I don't want to say it, but I think probably a bit higher than 30%.
Okay. What's the response from others?
There's no response actually yet.
They are like, no.
I think they're already 25. No, I don't think 25, because we already had 23.6 in 60,000 bracket. So
Okay, let's see now.
should be higher than 25.
It's actually 25.2.
Wow. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. So the reason being, because obviously, if you see the tax deductibles and provincial taxes with compared to 60,000, the amount increased a lot, because I remember it was 6,000 something and now it is 9,000 something. But because your salary also increased, the percentage also actually increases the amount. So what you actually get in is also not as comparative. So let's see, in hand we were getting here 45,700 for 60,000, right? We increased the salary with 15,000, but the net pay increased only by 10,000. So that is why the taxes, even though it went up only 1%, but it felt a lot. So that's the reason I wanted to point that out, that it is actually
I feel a
25.2.
noob.
Yeah. And there are like, because there is this tax brackets, right? So
Yeah.
60,000 and 75,000 actually comes into the same tax bracket, I think, or
I think
maybe till
80,000 or
70,000.
more you go to.
Yeah, 80,000, and I think 90,000 up also there's another bracket. So that tax bracket you can obviously check, and every province has their own tax brackets. But this is something which you can expect from taxation point of view. And I think it is it comparable with India? I don't even remember. But I know that India has also implemented a tax bracket system now, so maybe it will come close to this, depending on how much you make. So that's good. Any questions related to the salaries, average salaries?
I think we're good to go. We're actually on time check. So
Okay, perfect. So this is the last slide, and this is my advice for everyone. My first advice will be to focus on studies than part-time jobs. So provided we can work on campus, off campus, but your primary focus should be your studies and improving your skill set, because that is why you are paying a lot of amount. And I've actually seen many people who did not or chose to do part-time job more than their studies, and they are actually still working at those part-time jobs and not got their actual job which they wanted to pursue. So that is something which you should have some checks in place, that uh, even though you are working on a job, it should not hinder your studies or impact your studies. Second one is to have short-term plans. So this can be anything related to your finances or even buying a car. That this is my plan, that once I repay my loan, I'll get a car after that. Before that, I won't even think about it. Or it can even be like doing your assignments, this and that. And so this will actually help you to achieve them. And once you achieve them, you can be more focused, and that again ties down to focus more on studies and part-time jobs. Then also have long-term goals as well. So many people I've seen over here who move, they actually do whatever others are doing. So for example, if my friend buys a car, let's, because you might here it's very easy to buy a car. Everything is given on credit, so you can actually get a car for $0 down, and you can just drive off. You have to pay the monthly insurance and all those good stuff, and repayment stuff. But because you people don't have long-term goals, they actually buy something which they can't afford, and then they have to work to in order to repay that car or stuff like that. So have long-term goals as to, let's say you want to buy a house. If you want to buy a house, you should maintain your finances in such a way that you actually are saving rather than spending all your money. And this is just one example. You can have other long-term goals as well, and align your short-term plans in accordance to those. Then also invest in yourself. So even if you have studied here in a college or university, the skill set is required in various other jobs. So you'll either need to do some kind of certification training. So always invest in yourself. And delayed gratification. So as I mentioned about the car, so if somebody is buying a car now, they can afford it. But if you can't, you should always wait till it is the right time, because good things happen to those who wait. So that is where delayed gratification comes into play. Once you achieve some kind of goal, that is where you should treat yourself with something which you always wanted, and continuous learning. So this is something which is very important, and it also ties down with invest in yourself. So you should always keep on learning new skills or new ways to even have earn money. For example, you can always have some passive income sources which you can learn and implement. So that is my advice for in order for you to be successful. So Ishmi, do you have anything else to add to it?
uh, I think I've covered pretty much everything.
Awesome.
Just wanna say good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Yes. So, any questions from anyone? So these are the references. Let's come to questions.
I think we have covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, that
Guys,
was
if you
our.
have some questions, please ask. Otherwise, we are ending.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to say, all the participants in this session, if you guys have any questions right now, or if you get any of your questions after doing your research for going abroad for your studies and stuff, you can always connect with our alumni through the Slack channel. They both of them are connected with us through our workspace, and we are connecting all other established alumni in that group. So for sure, you guys can come up with your questions in that channel, and you can expect a reply from our alumni.
Right. And as Lovepreet had also mentioned previously, I also have a YouTube channel called Canadian Dost. So in there, I actually talk about similar kind of stuff, my life experiences and how, like what's going on with the Canadian workforce and how I paid my loan, study, this and that. So if you guys are interested, you can check that out as well. So I'll be making, I post almost every week, like multiple times in a week, some days, sometimes. So if you guys are interested, you can check that out as well. You'll get most of the answers there itself.
Yeah, and guys, I would like to speak on the behalf of all our attendees that this session was quite insightful and quite interesting, exciting for us because it was a different setup. We were in a podcast in a situation where we could witness you guys in a great conversation, including some brilliant points. And I'm very sure that the people planning to going abroad for their studies and job work would be really benefited from this conversation and would surely like to keep a contact with you guys. And I would really like to thank you guys for taking out time. We know it's a long weekend and you must be having some plans for partying and stuff. So thank you so much. And I would just like Training and Placement Officer, Mr. Parminder Pal Bedi sir, to just say a couple of words to address all of us in the meeting.
At the outset, thanks a lot, Gursimran. Matlab, I am so overwhelmed by seeing my students, ISHMEET and Gursimran, giving us a tour of Canada, as if we have got to know each and everything of Canada, whatever is going on. So it has given me instinct also. So try to be there in Canada with you people. But still we have to go
Most
a long
welcome.
way. It was a very nice session, very informative session, wherein you have given almost all the insights, and over and above that you have told about your YouTube channel also, wherein students can get all other information. But this was the only idea that you people can help your younger brothers and sisters.
Right.
So after going through this situation of pandemic in India, I suppose your Canada will be flooded in the next 2-3 years.
I,
It
I
has
assume that.
it has already been, but nowadays the most of the people even working at very high profile jobs, even they are trying their best to move out, because the earlier COVID situation was like, wherein at least people were thinking of each other. But this time, though, in India, people have tried to loot the peoples like anything. The
Right.
cost of medicines, the cost of oxygen, and the unethical behavior of our governments towards what it should have been for the welfare of their citizens. So most of the people whomsoever we are talking nowadays, everybody is saying it is best कि अब तो यहाँ से निकल जाना चाहिए. So once again, I would thank you on behalf of the management of GTBIT, on behalf of all my student fraternity, and I'm really very happy. Well, those students who at the time of when you used to come to appear for your viva and other things, how confused you people used to be, and your presentations we kept on telling you do this thing or external के साम sir इधर से ऐसे कर ले उधर से ऐसे कर ले. Now you have become such a super guides for your juniors, as well as I cannot say in words when I see my students are landed up at such a good place. और इस बार तो जैसे अमेजोन में हमारे 30-32 लाख पे गए हैं. अभी ये स्टूडेंट फोर्स बड़ी मेहनत कर रही है ताकि अपकमिंग जो 2020 बैच है 22, इसके अंदर हमारी प्लेसमेंट्स, और जो बच्चे बाहर भी जाना चाहते हैं, दे शुड लैंड अप विद द good universities, they should land up with good jobs.
Right.
That is the only idea, only way how we can project our college and our community to be at the top. Seva mein to already we are, and the whole of the world is seeing how we people are serving to others. But again, a big round of applause for you people, how you have managed the things and how you have reached to this thing, and you have otherwise also come up to help your juniors. Thanks a lot on behalf of all of us, and we would like to meet soon. Thank you.
Sure,
Thanks a
sir,
lot.
sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for your
so much
Thank you so much, guys,
Thank you,
for your
everyone.
time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stay safe and
All
stay
right, guys.
informed.
Take care. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
bye.
great
Thanks.
day.
Bye.
Bye bye.